help with hip and shoulder mobility. So they are often areas of the body where we hold a lot of tension, and posturally we tend to encourage sort of bad habits just from sitting at desks, from driving in cars. We're in a constantly sort of flexed position around the hips and a flexed position around the shoulders. So if any of that feels familiar to you, and if that's having an impact on your training, then some of the things that we're going to do today might be things that you just want to incorporate into your mobility work, into your warm-ups, just to help you with what you're trying to achieve. Now, I am going to use a strap for one of these postures today, and that's because I need to. I've got a right shoulder that is pretty stiff and pretty unhappy, and so I'm going to use a strap to get into one of the postures that I'm going to show you. It doesn't need to be anything special. If you feel like me that you need a strap to help you with it, then a rolled up tea towel or the belt off your jeans or anything will do. So just as long as you've got something that's going to make your arms a little bit longer, basically. So with your strap to one side for the moment, we're just going to make ourselves comfortable in a cross-legged position. So have a little bit of a shuffle and just move the fleshy bits, the glutes, from underneath you, so that you sit nice and tall. You can feel the bony bits, your sit bones, just pressing into the mat underneath you. And sit nice and tall in a cross-legged position if you can. Now, if you are tight around the hips, you might find that just coming into this cross-legged position is enough of a challenge, and so it can help just to sit on something. Now again, I've got a yoga block, but it doesn't have to be a yoga block. A folded up towel, a bit of padding would do, just to elevate these hips a little bit and give the knees a little bit of space to sink and relax. So if you feel like you want to sit on something for this first part, then that's absolutely fine. So we're going to sit nice and tall, and we're just going to work these fingers away from the hips with a long spine. So let's just take a couple of breaths here, just to come into the space that you're in, let go of anything else that you're thinking about, that you need to do later on today. And as we take our next breath in, we're going to take the right arm to the sky and just touch the space in between the shoulder blades with those right fingers. So your right elbow is easing up towards the top of the room. And then we're just going to take a bend over to the left here. So you can put a bend in that left elbow just to take it as deep as you want to. And then coming back to centre, we're going to take that arm all the way up to the sky again. And this time, with a long arm, take another bend over to the left. So let your head just drop. So relax the neck so that left ear is sinking towards the left shoulder. And then let's sweep that right hand over towards the right, flexing the wrist and just pointing the fingers up towards the sky. And you should start to feel a nice deep stretch into the top of the shoulder and into the side of the neck. So really actively push the heel of that hand away from you, and you'll find a point where you think, yeah, that's pretty juicy, I can feel that. And we're just going to hold it there. And then take this left hand, we're going to bring the left hand to the ear, so we're not using the neck to push the head back up to centre and bring those right fingers back to the floor. So let's do the same on the other side. So left hand to the sky, and then tucking behind the shoulder blades, left elbow reaching for the top of the room. Let's take that bend over to the right. So keep the chest facing the front. And then we're going to come back to centre, arm long this time, second bend, let the head go, so really relax, right ear towards right shoulder, and then let's take that arm back, so flex the wrist, fingers pointing to the sky, and just find that stretch. Might be in a slightly different place to the other side. There it is. And we're going to push the head back up to centre nice and slowly. Sit tall, shake out those arms, and let's do a little bit of work for the legs. So have a look at what leg you've got crossed in front of you. So it's my right leg in front of me. So I'm going to take my dominant leg to the front, and my non-dominant leg, I'm just going to rotate that hip inwards, take my knee out to the side, and my left shin is at 90, so my knee's at 90 degrees, my left shin is parallel with the short edge of that mat, and my right shin and my left thigh are parallel with each other. So fingertips either side of that front leg, whichever one you've got forward, it doesn't matter. We're just going to sit nice and tall. So you probably feel a little bit of something going on in the hip on that non-dominant side. This is where left and right are going to get a little bit confusing because you now think I've got my left leg in front of me probably. But it is my right leg. And then if you can, we're just going to slowly start to walk those fingers forward. So coming into a forward fold here. So we're going to come into a deeper version of this in a moment called pigeon pose, but we're just opening up these hips a little bit before we go any further. Just because I want to get into a posture called cow face pose, which works on both the hips and the shoulders at the same time. So if you feel like you can walk a little further forwards, then do. And then we're just going to come all the way back to centre and we're going to swing it round. So change position, non-dominant leg comes forward. Dominant leg is tucking behind, shin parallel with the short edge of my mat, left shin parallel with the long edge, right shin parallel, right thigh parallel with the left shin, fingertips onto the mat and I'm sitting tall. Just going to hold it here for a breath or two and then I'm going to have a little walk forwards. So, might feel completely different on this side. This is the thing that I like to explore when doing these kind of movements is you very quickly identify differences between the left sides and right sides of your bodies, strengths, weaknesses, all exposed by this type of practice. And then we're just going to gently come back up to centre. And I'm going to take my dominant leg, so it's my right leg, all the way over my left. So my left knee was pointing directly forwards. My right knee is now resting on top of it. Now at the moment, my right foot is pointing out to about 10 o'clock. But I'm going to see if it's possible to straighten up my legs so that my ankles are on the same line and my knees are stacked on top of one another. Now if this doesn't work for you, if this is really impossible for your hips, then you can come into a cross-legged position, which is where we started. If you can come into this cow face legs position, then give it a go. Nice hip opener. Now I'm going to turn around to show you what's going on with the arms and the shoulders behind me. And this is where you might want to grab hold of and use a strap to help you get into the posture. So I'm going to turn around. My legs are going to stay the same. So don't change your legs. We're just swinging around. So I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to rotate my arm so that the back of my hand is pressing on my mid-spine, and I'm just going to tuck my left fingers up in between my shoulder blades with my right hand. So my left hand is now reached as far up towards my neck as I can possibly allow it to. Right arm is going to reach for the sky, and I'm going to pass that right hand over the top of the head and see if I can make a bind here with the fingers. Now this is the bit where you might need a strap. So if you want to grab a strap and just work the hands a little bit closer towards one another, then you can do so. And we want to make sure that that right elbow is pointing all the way up to the sky and not pushing into the back of the head, so that you're pushing the head forwards. Good. So take 3 more breaths. And then relax, let it go. Shake out the arms. How did that feel? It's pretty strong work for the shoulders. We're going to try the other side. So this time it's the right knee underneath. Right knee or pointing forwards, if it was for you. Left knee is stacking on top, and I'm going to see if I can bring my ankles onto the same line. If this doesn't work for you, remember you can take an alternative seat, just come into a cross-legged position. And then we're going to work the arms. So this time it's the right hand, back of the hand on the mid-back. I'm just going to use the left fingers to see if I can tuck them up a little bit higher. And then the left fingers reach for the sky. I'm going to take them behind the back. I can't reach here, so this is where the strap comes in handy for me. And if you're the same, just use the strap to work the fingers a little bit closer together, remembering to keep the neck free. So if the head's dropping forwards, then just see if we can lift that elbow up towards the sky a little bit more. And we're going to take 3 more breaths. Last breath. Let it go, unravel. Check out those arms. And we're going to just unravel those legs. Shake them out. So give them a bit of a shake. And let's make our way onto the hands and the knees. Coming into a tabletop position, wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Pushing the mat away with those hands, draw the belly in towards the spine. And let's just work through a couple of cat-cow poses here. So belly to the floor, lift the heart, lift the hips, roll the eyes to the sky. And then tuck that tailbone under, took the chin to the chest, arch through cat pose, maybe rocking from the heels of the hands to the knees. Just enjoy that stretch and just moving as you want to, whatever works, whatever feels good. Just enjoying cat and cow for a breath or two. And then we're going to come into that tabletop position once more and take a version of thread the needle here. So I'm going to sweep those right fingers all the way up to the sky and then thread that right hand through the space underneath the left ribs. Right shoulder's coming to the floor. Push into the left hand. See if we can stack left shoulder on top of right. Or even better, let's take that left arm and wrap it around the lower back. So getting a nice bit of rotation through that upper spine. Last breath. Let's come back to centre. Have a wriggle through cat-cow if you need to before we go to the other side. So left fingers sweeping all the way up to the sky. Let's thread that left hand through. Left shoulder, left ear to the floor. Maybe sweeping that right arm around the lower back. Stacking right shoulder on top of left. And then we're coming all the way back to centre. We're going to tuck the toes, move the bum towards the heels and lift those knees into your down dog. So remember down dog, we've been here before, inverted V pose. We're not too concerned about whether the heels reach the floor, but we do want to find a nice long spine. So push the mat away with those hands. Let the tailbone be as high as it can, give the head a shake, make sure we're not holding any tension in that neck. We're going to look at the space between the hands and take a big step forward with the right foot. Let's bring this left knee down onto the floor. And as I take a breath in, I'm taking the right fingers all the way up to the sky. Right hand's coming onto the inside of the right foot and I'm going to heel toe my right foot all the way over to the right side of the mat. Adjusting the hands so that they're directly underneath the shoulders. I'm going to turn to face you. So right foot is over by the right side of the mat. Both wrists are back underneath these shoulders. And I'm in lizard pose. So we're just going to stay here for a moment or two. Have a little move around if you want to, just work into those hips. And then I'm going to bring the right hand onto the inside of this right knee and just gently start to push it away as I roll onto the outer edge of the right foot. Now only go as far as you comfortably can. If that feels really uncomfortable for the ankle or the hip, then stay here. But if you can, just creating a little bit of space around that hip. Let's come back to centre. Heel toe that foot back into the middle of the mat, plant hands, tuck the left toes, lift the left knee, we're back to down dog. And we're going to do the other side. So left foot coming forwards, dropping the right knee to the floor, left arm sweeping up to the sky, and then bring that left hand onto the inside. We're going to heel toe, foot to the left side, both wrists back underneath the shoulders, and we're in lizard on our left side. So again, have a little bit of a move if you want to. And then keeping the right hand on the mat, left hand on the inside of this left knee, gently push it away, making sure you don't collapse into this right shoulder, so stay strong through that right arm. Coming back to centre, heel toe that left foot, tuck the toes, lift the right knee, step back to down dog, lift those hips nice and high, give the head a shake. And then let's bring this right knee behind the right wrist. So I'm going to turn side on to just show you a couple of variations of this posture. So right wrist is behind the right knee, I should say. I'm going to work my toes so that my right toes are somewhere behind my left wrist. Now we're working towards getting that shin parallel almost with the short edge of the mat, I should say. Now that might mean that I need to just take those left toes towards the back of the mat a little bit so I keep my hips nice and square. Now, if you can't stop this bum cheek from falling to the floor, then what you can do is just prop it up with, again, a block, a book or a folded towel or something like that. So staying nice and tall to begin with, and you can stay here. So if this feels enough for you, then you can stay exactly where you are, or you can, if you want to, just walk down onto those forearms. So keeping the spine long, and if this feels alright, then you've got the opportunity to lengthen out those arms and come all the way down onto the mat, forehead resting on the floor if you want to. So this is called pigeon pose, and it's pretty strong. So if it doesn't feel good when you come down, then maybe just keep yourself supported on the hands. It's a posture that we like to hold for a little bit of time, just to give those big strong muscles around the hips a chance to open up. So we're going to be here for 5 more breaths. And then coming back onto those hands if you're low, nice and slow. If you've got any blocks supporting your posture, move them to one side. Let's tuck the left toes, lift up that left knee, create some space to take that right leg all the way up to the sky, give it a stretch, and then let's bring the toes to the mat. We're going to do the other side. So that left knee is coming behind the left wrist, the left toes behind the right wrist, and then shuffle that right hip back. So we want these hips to be nice and square. Remember that you can support that left glute, that left side of the hip if you want to. And we can stay here on the fingertips. We can sink all the way down onto the mat, onto the forearms, or forehead to the floor if that works for you. Find your level, find what's comfortable for you. And let's take 5 more breaths. Last breath. We're going to come back onto those hands. This time we're just going to drop onto the left bum cheek and swing this right leg around. Meeting on our bums, on our seats, with the soles of the feet pressed together, and just interlace these fingers around the outer edge of the feet. Can you walk the bum a little bit closer towards the heels and just give those knees a little bit of a flap? Good. So, how are the hips starting to feel? We're going to take a forward fold here. This time you can allow the spine to just round. So use a little bit of bicep strength and draw the nose towards the inner edge of those feet. I'm going to turn side on. Last breath here. We're just going to come all the way back up to seated. Keep the feet pressed together. Just use your fingers to shuffle your bum a little bit closer to your heels and allow the spine to roll all the way back onto the mat. I'm dropping off the back of mine. I'm just going to shuffle forwards. Now, if it's all right for your shoulders, take the hands over the top of the head. Just rest the back of one hand in the palm of another. Now, if this feels uncomfortable for either your shoulders or your hips, then you can bring the fingertips down onto the belly, and you can just stand to the feet. So if you're feeling any restriction in that lumbar spine as a result of having these knees wide, or in the shoulders as a result of having the elbows splayed, then please do just adjust the posture. But if you're all right with this, if you feel comfortable where you are, then it's just a nice passive way of opening up these shoulders and these hips a little bit. So letting gravity pull the elbows and the knees down towards the floor. Just having a little breather. We're only going to be here for a moment. So lengthen out this left leg and let's draw the right knee over the belly and hug it into the chest. So interlace those fingers around the right shin, squeeze it in, And then just take the hands to the back of the right knee. Shin perpendicular to the mat, so show the sole of your foot to the sky. And then let's bend that left knee. We're going to let the right ankle rest on top of it. Right knee drifting out towards the side. Right hand is coming through the legs, and we're going to interlace the fingers on the front of that left shin. So another version of Pigeon, but this time supine version. So if you didn't like the full version of Pigeon we just did, this is a really nice alternative. It's a little less intense. So slide that right ankle off the knee, draw the left knee in towards the belly, let the head come back down to the mat if it's lifted. And then let's move the hands to the back of that left thigh, show the sole of the foot to the sky. And then bend up the right knee, left ankle on top of it. And we're going to thread the left hand through, interlace those fingers around the shin, draw the ankle towards the nose, give yourself a squeeze. And then release that left leg, both knees over the belly. We're going to cross the ankles, grab hold of the outer edge of the feet, and just have a little bit of a rock and a roll up to seated. So just take the time to roll along the whole length of the spine, give yourself a little bit of a massage before rocking yourself up onto the seat. We're going to meet again in that cross-leg position, which is where we started. Take a big breath in, sweep the arms wide, look up towards the thumbs, and then bring those hands down through centre, rest them in the lap. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you took some useful tips from that little class that are going to help you with your day-to-day mobility exercises. Have a good